All right, yeah, I'm gonna do a little video talking about the frost damage this year. Um, wasn't as bad as last year's, but still enough to torch a lot of things. I kind of want to talk about some observations I've made and plants that I think that will suit this area better, and just kind of what I'm thinking going forward, because having the frost last year, then a hurricane, and then frost this year, it's making me really feel like I say this in all the videos, but really makes me want to just keep on doubling down on resiliency, because Mother Nature's unpredictable, so you never know what's gonna happen. And it's been interesting to see what plants have made it fine and what plants just can't take these minor frosts. So let's just run it through here. So obviously the bananas did get hit, but they'll come back. And here, let me show you this. One important note that I've been kind of thinking about for this area. So I'm inland, Southwest Florida. So although we are pretty south, we still get that inland chill. I've been seeing, just like last frost, I've been seeing that even just a few minutes west, just a few minutes going to the coast, I've been seeing that that's all it needs for the frost damage to be a lot less. But these bananas are still nice. And in hindsight, I should have harvested this banana rack before the frost, but I was out of the country. I was in Honduras, and I couldn't. So I've been seeing that there's one or two that was already ripe, and I tried them, and it seemed like the inner core was like hard, and it seemed like it was rotting before it was ripening. So I'm pretty sure that's due to the frost damage while it was fruiting. So I've been thinking about banana management and thinking about same thing with this one. I don't think this is gonna make it. There's no more photosynthesis to power these fruits. So in terms of banana management, I'm thinking of timing the bananas so that if they are starting to flower or fruit coming into the winter, I'm gonna experiment with maybe, well, I guess I can play it by ear. This is the kind of cool thing about like agroforestry systems, that you can play things by ear. I was really hoping to get something out of this, but seeing that I'm not, I'm gonna have to chop this back and feed it to the soil life and keep the system continuing to go forward. In so doing, these that are already growing will have a head start. So hopefully, theoretically, this one, which is the oldest one, after this one, will most likely start flowering at least sometime in the late summer or something. So hopefully that'll be enough time to get a full rack before any chance of frost. But most of the stuff, because I learned from last year, I stopped buying any sort of high value tropical trees, and I've just been focusing on things that I know will take the frost. So acerola, the Barbados cherries, seemed unscathed for the most part. The jack beans didn't. I don't know about these jack beans. Maybe somebody in the comments could tell me what they think. So a lot of these were green and I'm just about to turn brown right before the frost. So I'm wondering if they will still, become dry like this and suitable for me to harvest, or these will just stop maturing because there's no more life in the leaves. I'm not sure. I'm gonna obviously just wait it out and see what happens. Seems like some of them are turning, but I already got a few seeds out of the crop. But it would be unfortunate if these never mature. So curious to see what happens. But there's two Barbados cherries over there. There's one over there and one over there that did good, even though they were super exposed. So I'm really liking Barbados cherry, China berry. Some of them took the frost harder than others, but for the most part, still kicking. Corymbia torreliana, definitely didn't even flinch whatsoever. I'm really thinking of going harder with the Corymbias this coming year, and getting them very dense, so that, as usual, I'm trying to create a microclimate here, so eventually frost damages won't be so severe as they are now with the very fragile microclimate. White zapote didn't flinch at all either, which is cool. Papayas totally torched. I had high hopes for papaya in this area, and because I really love papaya and feel like it's a pretty awesome crop to grow, but I don't know if the timing will work out if we continue to get frost. So considering they need, sunlight, they would be in more exposed areas to begin with because of that light requirement. So not sure. I hope I can figure out the papaya game, but so far doesn't look like it. Tons of turmeric. So my cash crop turmeric is okay. That's why I love turmeric, because it just grows all summer and then is dormant all winter, and the bulbs are just, the roots are just hanging out in the ground. Kind of going in circles, but I wanted to show the loquat as well. I told myself last year that I was going to go heavier on the loquats, and I kind of did. I popped in some loquats here and there, but I'm starting to realize that I really actually need to go super dense with the loquats as well, as a service crop service species / actual crop species. So one thing to note is that a lot of the mahoganies, being so small, a lot of them kind of didn't flinch. A lot of random mangoes also didn't seem to take that much damage, while other mangoes did take more damage. So I'm guessing the diversity here, and the microclimate of the banana and all these different plants sheltering some of these baby trees actually helped. You see this acerola, this Barbados cherry, is not affected all that much. So, and you can see here some maybe more damage on this one. So it's kind of just like hit or miss. Look at this mahogany got torched, or like the leaves came off. So I'm seeing mixed results, which is nice, because last year it was pretty much all the mangoes got torched. And it's been like a week and some change since the frost. It was 2 nights, I think, of light frost. So one thing that I've noticed as well is these mountain soursops. I believe these are mountain soursops, I'm pretty sure. Annona montana. Look how tiny these seedlings are, and they did not even budge whatsoever. Didn't even flinch. So my hopes for Annona montana, mountain soursop, as a protective service species, I feel like it's gonna come to fruition. If they're this tiny and they didn't even react to the frost, then that's a good sign. Some other mangoes that were more established, dying back, still seems alive here, but I'm not really sure. It'll probably come back from the root. Again, the corymbias are up there chilling. Hit or miss on the avocados as well. A lot of them look like this. A few look nice. Again, the mahoganies seem overall to be pretty nice. One thing I'd like to mention is the role of the Napier grass. Even though they got, frosted out, kind of torched leaves, you can still see the function of them is still, the windbreak and climate control function of them are still there. I'm starting to see that as a as a chop and drop support species, I'm favoring the Napier grass over the Mexican sunflower, because even though the Napier grass will get torched, frosted out, they still sort of remain, they still have that structure to them. The canes are still very much alive, and the leaves sort of just droop down once they're dead and kind of still create a buffering effect from the outside. So you can see the exposure, and then you can see that wall still there. Whereas Mexican sunflower, as amazing as a chop and drop, nitrogenous chop and drop as it is, it's not the best for windbreak purposes. So I'm probably going to replace this with more of the Napier grass. There's random earleaf acacia coming up. There's planted some elderberries as well, and they seem to not be affected at all by the frost. Another elderberry here, so some elderberries hiding in this little hedge. But of course the mulberries did good, and I pruned the mulberries after Hurricane Ian, so they resprouted right before the dry season, so they are remaining. The leaves are still here even though we're in the middle of the dry season. And we actually got some rain today, which is really, really nice, because I'm doing a lot of the chopping and dropping of the Mexican sunflower, which you can see is already starting to come back. So I want to chop them down low so that they have a nice base to come back from. Let's see. So yeah, here's a avocado that seems to be doing okay. Got some protection from that banana and maybe that banana, and maybe just a stronger, cold hardy avocado seed. I don't know. Some of the achote anado, they got torched. I'm not sure if they're gonna come back from the root. Maybe they will. They seem like they're hardy trees. So another thing I wanted to mention was galangal as well. Galangal, even though they got torched back, so it's sort of the same thing with as a Napier grass. They got torched back, frosted back, but you can still see it. They're still very much green. The bulbs, the galangal bulbs are just so powerful that they supply these plants with. It just seems like they're very resilient. They got a lot of life in those bulbs. So I can imagine that if I had a very dense row of these, then they can act as like another sort of a windbreaky / protection type of plant, because there's just so much there's so much mass here still, even though they got frosted back, and maybe that might have helped the avocado and why it's looking so nice, because there was some Napier over there, and then the galangal. I don't know. Starfruit seems to be frost tolerant as well, because last year it got frosted out and then it came back. So looking to plant more things like that, more starfruit, more loquats, more corymbias, more nopales, more cactus. Let's see if I can give you a good example, because sometimes what happens is during the summer things get so dense and so overcrowded that I feel like I've maxed out planting space. Like there's no feasible way that I can squeeze anything more in. But then the wintertime comes and the things that naturally die back obviously die back, and then a frost could happen like it did here, and then you lose a good percentage of that crazy vigor that you had in the summertime, and then you start to really see the holes where you actually could be planting a lot more. And one of those is the cactus game. Like they might not do so well during the summer when everything's all crowded around them and they're getting soaked with rain, But then when everything dies back and you see these just patches of green where these cactus are, then sort of gives me makes me want to plant way more cactus super densely, because I know that they will be photosynthesizing during, if a frost happens like this, and helping the system to continue. Another one that stayed green and I've been really liking is the Mexican petunia. I feel like this is something that I could go even heavier with, because the flowers are just beautiful. It flowers at a really nice time fall. Beautiful purple flowers. And it's still green, and it just kind of lays low, chills, doesn't really get in anybody's way. And so yeah, I think the petunias are also a key plant. But here, let me show kind of how the nopales, a good example of the role that the nopales play. So this was all a sweet potato patch, tons of sweet potato in there, way too much actually, but it's nice to have an abundance. And so everything died back, right? The sweet potato vines totally died back. They got frosted out. And if I didn't plant these nopales, there wouldn't be anything there. You know, the pigeon peas are have produced already, and these service trees are kind of just kind of in the same vein as why I planted the nopales, is because I wanted something here after the sweet potatoes were done. And now that the sweet potatoes are done, they're everywhere now. Like, now that the vines have died back, I can kind of see them poking out everywhere. Now there's something green continuing this, the photosynthesizing, and continuing just life processes in what otherwise would just be a barren landscape of dead sweet potato vines. Things like dollarweed and torpedo grass are usually the ones that start taking over a space once something like this happens. So if you can imagine, if I had a denser planting of nopales and cacti, and maybe like things like aloe vera and different succulents that could retain some green after a light frost, then that's something I want to experiment with going forward, because I also eat nopales a lot, so the more the merrier. So this, you can see here, I haven't done the Mexican sunflower chop and drop quite as much here, so you can see all the dead Mexican sunflower. And Suriname cherries also took the frost very well, so I want to plant more of that as well. I got cherry of the Rio Grande as well in the nursery that I'll be planting out this spring. So things that I know could take the cold, and I think that's the direction I'm going to go for moving forward. This starfruit was a little more exposed, didn't have as much support plants around it, and so it is looking a little battered up right now. So hopefully it comes up above the graft. That'd be nice if it did. I think this is a F-wing tongue, so I really hope it comes up above the graft. And I've been seeing the bananas that I need to be more dense with the bananas as well. I really like the frosts because they really make me analyze the system more in detail and see all the flaws and all the holes. This was a low spot on the property. I've raised it up with tons of mulch. I'm going to be having a more refined bed here. But that's that. Another thing is a lot of these Hong Kong orchids kind of didn't really get phased, which is nice. I might leave one or two. The mulberries as service crops, service species. This is another thing that I need to go extremely dense with. So imagine if if this mulberry was spaced at every foot or so, how much more photosynthesis, coupled with, you know, more corymbias and more cacti, like I said, and loquat, how much more photosynthesis there would be right now in late January, especially a variety like this that I've trialed and see that it's vigorous. So it's really nice for me to get this feedback from Mother Nature, so that I know going forward, hey, maybe ice cream bean is a bit of a stretch here, and inland Southwest Florida. Papaya's kind of a stretch for right now. This might be moringa, actually. Moringa's come back though. Beautiful avocado. You can really see how much an effect this big barrier of Napier grass has on little saplings. In other places where avocados are a little bit more exposed, they're just completely torched. And it really shows me how close I can get away with planting Napier grass. It's a little uncomfortable to have it so close to your tree row like that. It kind of encroaches. I'd rather have it like outside the tree row, like that little hedge there. But I mean, for optimal protection, that's really nice. I had some black sapote here. This is another one. It's even like pushing out nice new leaf here. It's doing a little better than I thought, so maybe more black sapote, which is actually a very beautiful tree in of itself. I'm more interested in the black sapote tree than I am the black sapote fruit. Such a beautiful and amazing tree. So nice to see that it took the frost damage fairly well. Whereas over here I had a smaller black sapote seedling at the very edge. That didn't do too well, and you can see there's not a lot of service plants or anything over here. So interestingly enough, this bed stayed green. I at least the jack beans did. I really put a lot of effort into this bed, and I feel like that effort's kind of paying back. Even these jackfruit were green and healthy a little bit right after the freeze, but now they're really feeling the damage. You can still see it has a green leaf on it still, so it'll most likely come back. But this jackfruit seedling was very protected as well. There's another one over here. Oh, this one still has like some green on it. Interesting. This is a jackfruit seedling. So yeah, it's been really interesting to see what pockets of the food forest, how each little corner sort of fared, because they all reacted differently to the frost. Sweet tamarind actually looks very nice. I consider tamarind a pretty tropical tree, but it's nice to see that it's doing fine. And again with the bananas, I feel like to have a steady banana game over here, I'm gonna have to time banana plants very well, and time them so that they fruit in the summer. And here you can see my attempt to get dense with loquats, and so you see more green here. Another black sapote that is actually holding up. Mango, see some mangoes, a lot of the mangoes are just looking like this, whereas some of them are looking better. Canistel, another loquat here. So the loquats I need to go heavy with for sure. Here's another good example of the Mexican petunias, just how vigorous and robust they still are. So more of that. Whereas other ground covers like the Plectranthus, like the toilet paper plant, and the other Plectranthus boldo, they just all literally melted. So it's nice to have a mix. Nice to have some of those that thrive during the summer heat, but also you got to balance that out with those that can take the frost damage, because diversity is key. One last thing I wanted to show was, let's see. Let's see. Oh yeah. I wanted to show this China berry. This is another tree that I want to try to go harder with. I mean, that is a beautiful tree. Staying this green and putting on this much new growth. And late January, definitely. The mango underneath it didn't fare too well. But it's all good. So yeah, here's the Plectranthus, the Panadol, Boldo, whatever you want to call it. Just completely melted. So these poncan tangerines or mandarins, I'm not sure which one it is doing decently. It's starting to get thick down here, so maybe it'll do something. I don't know. Earleaf acacia, of course, really resilient plant, handled the frost decently, whereas last year, even one as thick as this didn't make it. So we didn't have as gnarly as a frost as last year, so a lot of these species were able to survive, and I'm able to get a kind of good assessment of what could tolerate a light frost. Some of these things might not tolerate a hard frost, but at least a light frost. Canistel, that was protected by this Mexican sunflower, and this ground cover, I'm not sure what it is. Matthew Reese up in Punta Gorda hooked me up with it though, and I'm really liking it. I really like it. It looked a little rough at first. You can see some dead, but it kind of already just started springing back to life. And this, little rain that we had a couple good rains. I think today and a couple days ago we had a nice little rain. Started to bring back some of these things to life. So I really like this ground cover. I feel like it sort of insulates things very well without getting in anybody's way. If you guys know of the common name or what these things are called, I'd like to know, because they're really nice. And of course, like I said, the mountain soursop. So way more mountain soursops, way more loquats, and yeah, that's kind of it. Kind of just wanted to show the damage and the learning lessons. And yeah, I can't wait to see what comes back in the spring. It's always a awesome feeling to see how brown and kind of fried everything looks now, but then come springtime, things just start to explode back up again with growth. And now that I'm coming into year 2, February of 2021, there's a lot more fertility in the system, so things just kind of come back with so much vigor now. Carrot wood, super crucial tree, also took the frost damage just fine. Can't wait for the other carrot woods that are randomly on this property to continue growing. Such amazing thick leaves. But anyways, that's it. Oh, let me just show you one last loquat that's looking pretty good, and then I'll call it. And the thing with loquats is that they're easy to graft onto, so a lot more loquats in the near future. Avocado doesn't look too good, but the loquat looks very happy. All right, that's all. Peace.